Well, thank you very much. You hear, I mean, it's difficult. Try, because this is important. Hear my normal voice. But I'm going to tell you about what we did in my government as a feminist foreign policy, as the first country in the world who introduced a feminist foreign that we are not using the power of women and what women can give, whether it comes to economy, whether it comes to peace, whether it comes to having rich life for families, not the least in Global South. And also we know that crises in the world are mostly affecting women. Everything from war to an environmental crisis are affecting women and children. This is a lot of research on that. We don't have to go to this. So we decided it's not enough just to say that you work for gender equality. Sometimes when I speak about feminist foreign policy, I hear especially men and the same thing. And I said, no, you don't. A systematic approach to what is a feminist approach in gender equality. You can use it also in other areas. We use what we call the 3R. The 3R. And the 3R is representation, resources, and rights. And everything we did had to go through this check. Resources, representation, and rights. So, if we were having, for example, a development cooperation, we need to do an analysis. What resources are being allocated to women and what resources are being allocated to men? When I say women, I also mean girls and men, boys. I don't repeat that all the time. It's a given. And then often you see that you think that you share it equally, but you have given more resources to the men. That's one example. When you have the rights, in many countries in the world, the women don't have the rights, and it's some obvious things like they don't have the right to divorce, but also they don't have the same rights when it comes to inheritance. They don't even have the right to have a bank account, or they don't even have the right to have positions in the society. But it's not just formal rights, it's also informal rights, and you always have to check that. So when I, as a minister, went to different meetings, I always, met with women groups and women always, and also asked my counterpart, okay, what's about the rights of the women? And it's not only in the question, I travel a lot in the Middle East, and for example, in countries like Iran and Saudi Arabia, it's quite easy to see that the women don't have the rights, but also in European countries. For example, Belgium is seen as one of the best countries in the world for gender equality. At the same time, I was actually being head of the international department of the Party of European Social Democrats in Brussels, give in my own tax formulation, because it has been signed of the head of the family. And in Belgian law, who is the head of the family? It was not me who worked in Brussels, it was my husband who stayed in Stockholm. But the worst thing was that I get return of my taxes. Oh, I don't know, like €1,000 or something. But it was sent to him. It was not sent to me. So I say forget about the gender equality in Belgium, as long as they don't give the right to the women to have her own economic formulation and agreements. I will give you a few concrete examples how to think when you have a feminist foreign policy. And I have to say that when we started in 2014, we were the only country in the world. And then when we left government, there were 19 countries. And especially in Latin America, more and more countries have a feminist foreign policy. But also, we lost to a right-wing government with full support of the anti-immigration extreme right-wing, not the normal right-wing, but the extreme right-wing. And my successor, a man from the Conservative Party, he took the first decision proudly: we will abolish the feminist foreign policy. But we will work with gender equality anyway. And what happened? It's a hang-up. It's sometimes that they think, oh, we forgot the women in this conference. Maybe we should have a women workshop. If you don't work with it systematically, you don't get the same result. This is also researched. You can look it up. It's Göteborg University, 400 interviews, many of our embassies. And I like the title of the research. It's called More Than a Label, but Not a Revolution. And they show concrete example on how women and girls has got a better situation after this. Now my two examples. When I was Minister of Trade, we wanted to have, of course, a feminist trade policy. But what is a feminist trade policy? Well, the first thing we need to know is to see, is there any data that is disaggregated for gender? Because if you're going to get results, you need to see what it looks like in reality. But then we found it between United States and EU. And we could see that the tariffs were not equal. If you have a silk blouse, like this wonderful silk blouse, it has 6 times as much tariff as a man's shirt. 6 times as much, with no reason but gender. If you look to sportswear, not sports bra, but you know, boxer short or whatever you use, it's 3 times higher tariffs on men's sportwear than on women's sportwear. And for underwear, it was double. And there was no reason then you get away with it, because nobody has really seen it. When I told this, when we had our network of women foreign ministers in UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly, which we had every year, then suddenly Amina Mohammed, who is the Deputy Secretary General of United Nations, she suddenly, oh, I've always wondered, why do they charge me more when I get my shirts in the dry cleaning than my husband when he also leave his shirts to the dry cleaning? Now I understand it's the gender factor, and that's it is. But to be able to see it, you need to have disaggregated data. Then I will close, because we are many speakers for a short time, so I will close my 10 minutes with another example. Women, peace and security is very, very important. But also, if you see on the statistics, you can see that if women are in peace negotiations, and of those 9 most important peace negotiations now underway in the United Nations, there's no women. No women. There were in some of them before, but not now. They will last much longer. And you can see exactly how much longer in those research that has been done. And especially if the women has signed the agreement, it could last up to 15 years longer. And that is because women more cherish a peace agreement than men. So I always tell, like when the Ukrainians are coming and they say, we are going to then have a peace agreement. Well, they send a delegation to us with no woman. When we had peace talks, and this is still the only part of a peace agreement inside Yemen, we demanded that both the Houthis and the government should send women. They didn't send women. So, but we did. We invited them anyway to the secluded castle where the peace negotiations were. so that the women could be there during lunches, during breaks, during breakfasts, because they are so smart, they have so many ideas. So this is very, very important. When I was chair of OSCE in 2021, every year the military advisors are invited to the country that is chairing. And this year I decided that they should go to the Nordic Center for Gender in Military Missions, NATO certified for those who are interested. Some of those, of the 57 countries, members of OSCE, the military advisor said this is nothing for, because military is not for, you know, gender and feminism, it's just bullshit, BS. And, but they came because they wanted to be nice to me. And then we started to have scenarios like you have. And they found out that if they didn't do a gender analysis, they could actually be hurt. For example, we had the real situation where they haven't seen that women, and this is a true story, women went and get water at the fountain. So then the rebels stand there, and when the women came to get the fountain, they raped them. But not only did they rape them, they cut off 1 ear. So when the women come back to the village, everybody could see that this woman had been raped by the enemy because she has lost 1 ear. And my friend, the Deputy Secretary General of UN Women, she was there herself and talked with the women with only 1 ear. And this takes generation. They hadn't done a gender analysis. They didn't understand that the rebels should go for the women, because then they will lose, you know, the faith, the spirit of fighting, and it will take generation for those villages to come back after these shameful events. And of course, the women. You have heard about the Yazidi women. That's about the same story. You have heard about the systematic rape in the Balkan. That's about the same story. So if you don't have a proper gender analysis before you get out to a military operation, it will hit you back. So hopefully some of you can inspire your government to introduce a feminist foreign policy. Thank you.
Thank you.